The purpose of this video is to show you how to do a Vlookup using Microsoft Excel. And this video is going to do two different Vlookups. One which will be an exact match Vlookup, which means if we enter a customer number here under customer number, that it will look through this list until it finds an exact match, and then it will bring back the customer name. We'll also do an approximate match, which means if we have a customer balance here, and that customer balance is going to be used to look up in this list to find the credit risk description, but it won't have to be an exact match to one of these choices. Instead, it will fall inside a range. So for example, if our customer balance is $250, it would fall between 0 and 300, and we would get the appropriate response here, which would be good. If you want to have an exact duplicate and follow along with the video, then go ahead and pause this video and create a spreadsheet that looks just like mine, and then we'll get started. There are several approaches to doing this. One is we could have a table and we might want to look up in the table. The other is that we could just have a range of data and we want to look up in the range. So since I'm doing multiple VLOOKUPs here anyhow, I'm going to do some of them with the table. So I'm going to name my customer data. I'm going to create a table for this and then name it. And then we can also, for this VLOOKUP over here, we'll not name it or set it up as a table. We'll just use the range and the VLOOKUP formula. So you can see both approaches. So to create the table, I'm going to select my data, and then I'm going to the Insert tab, and I'm going to choose Table. And this table does have headers, so I'm going to make sure that's checked. It is. And then I'll say OK. And I want to go ahead and name this table, so I'm going to call it Customers. So all the way over here to the left, under Table Tools Design, we're going to type in the word Customers and then hit Enter. Now, whether it's a range or a table, the same principle is going to apply. For VLOOKUP, it really wants to use column numbers, not column letters. So even though, for example, my customer number is in column F, to VLOOKUP, this is column 1 of the customer table. And this would be column 2 and column 3 and column 4 of the customer table. The same principle when I select this range to use for my approximate match VLOOKUP, then this would be column 1 of that range, and this would be column 2. Let's go ahead and build a VLOOKUP for the customer name. So in this case, we want to enter a customer number. We want to find the number in this range, and then bring back the appropriate name once the number is found. So here I'm going to type in VLOOKUP, so equal to VLOOKUP, open parentheses. The lookup value is the value that we're looking up in column 1. So I'm going to click on D3, which is the customer number. The table, we've already created it as a table and named it. Again, you could just use data and select a range. But in this case, we've already named it customers. So I'll type in customers. And you notice that when I typed in customers, it did select the range here so I can see it. The third parameter it wants is the column index number, and this is where is the data that you want to bring back or display in the cell. And so we can't use column 1. Well, we could, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense. Column 1 is always your lookup column. So if you're just guessing, you could guess column 2 all the time because you don't want to guess column 1 and then change it if that doesn't come out the way you want. Or you can start counting columns. So this is my selected range, column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. We want the name to come back. That's in column 2. So up here, I'm going to put 2 for column 2. The last thing that comes up, and this is kind of cryptic, is do you want true approximate match or false exact match? The 2 that we're looking up in this column needs to exactly match the 2 here. So in this case, we want false, which is exact match. Unfortunately, the default is true, so if you don't actually put false in here, sometimes you'll get weird results for your VLOOKUP if you're trying to do an exact match. Okay, I'm going to close my parentheses and hit enter. You'll notice that John Adams came back. That's awesome. And if I change this to a 1, that automatically changes to George Washington. Sweet. Now let's go ahead and also VLOOKUP the customer balance. So if I choose number 1, then it's going to get this customer balance. So equal to VLOOKUP. Again, my VLOOKUP value, or my lookup value, is the customer number. The table that I'm looking it up in is the customer's table. And the column index that I'm using, again, not H, even though I want this balance, which is in this column, I want this is column 1, column 2, so I want column 3. Let's type a 3 here. And again, I want an exact match because we want this one to match here and then bring back the current balance. So I'll hit enter. So now when I have 1, I get George Washington, 111. If I change it to 3, I get Thomas Jefferson, $333. So this is all working exactly like I want. For credit risk, let's do an approximate match so that you can see the difference. And in this case, for example, this $333, there's no exact match over here where I want to look it up. So instead, it's going to fall into the range between $300 and $600, and it should print out medium. So this table is set up so that 0 to 300 is good, 300 to 600 is medium, 600 to 750 is concern, and so on. Let's go ahead and do a VLOOKUP. So equal to VLOOKUP, open parentheses. Now in this case, my lookup value is the dollar amount, not the customer number. So I want to click on D5. The range or table where I'm looking it up, I haven't named a table or created a table. Instead, I'm just going to use a data range. Notice that I am not including the headers in the data range. I'm just selecting the data, and I want the lookup column and whatever my data is that's going to come back. So if there's more than 2 columns, obviously I need to select them. I'm going to hit a comma. In this case, my column index number can't be 1. 1 is always my lookup column, so it's going to be 2. So this is column 1. This is column 2. Let's put in a 2 for the return column, and then in this case, instead of false exact match, I want true because we're doing an approximate match. And now I'll hit enter. And notice that 333 is a medium risk. If I go back to customer number 1, 111 is a good risk. If I go to customer 6, $656 is a concern. So it's all working exactly as I expected. To recap, this video showed you how to do both a exact match VLOOKUP and also an approximate match VLOOKUP. It also shows you how to do a VLOOKUP against a table and also doing a VLOOKUP against just a range of data. I hope this was helpful.